Hello everyone, this is Wesley and Joshua's presentation for our final project in Principles of Game Design. So right off the bat, this is actually a personal project of mine that I started last semester at the end of Principles of Visualization. I got really into the character and world building of that class, and I actually want to make this a full game one day. So I've just been kind of working on the story and like working on different elements of it and just trying to hopefully have a solid foundation by the time I graduate ETSU to like release this game. I want it to be a cyberpunk visual novel exploration type game where the player can go around, talk to different NPCs, progress the story, make a couple of different like dialogue choices and different story actions and stuff, and just like walk around a cool like little environments and different environments as I build them up. So like I said, the genre is going to be cyberpunk. It's going to be sci-fi. The player is going to be like on a alien world, experiencing a new culture and a new, planets, new characters, all the stuff that you usually find in a visual novel, just with like a cool sci-fi cyberpunk twist. The difference is that you are an actual human that was brought here to this planet against your will, actually, by the Noctivorians. So you kind of have to like, learn fast or die trying. Going into the level design, I really like giant cities. I really like mega structures, and I really like underground caves and cavern systems. So most of the planet is actually populated by a bunch of underground cities, because that is where life kind of develops. There's not a whole lot of cities on the surface, but I'm not going to get too far into that. Going back to like how I said you are a human in this world, the Noctivorian alien species is about twice as tall as a regular human. That's due to the planet's low gravity. So as you're exploring around this world as a human, architecture, elements are going to be about twice the size that they normally are. So it kind of makes you feel like almost like a child running around these giant play areas, but you are a full human. Because I wanted it to be a cyberpunk world underground, the only light sources in this world are going to be like the neon lights and signs, the bioluminescent water, and certain crystals and stuff that kind of power the whole city. It's like the crystals you pick up in the game. With that, I think we can move on to like the next aspect of the game is the depth boundaries or the border boundaries and everything like that. And with that, I'll take us to the edge of the map where the ocean is. I almost forgot to mention that this was the tutorial that I used, how to create a cyberpunk city streets. This was kind of a good, guideline. I didn't follow it like to the letter, but it was a good reference, and it like let me, see how other people would make a cyberpunk world. So here we are at the edge of the map. Where the vast ocean is that kind of, connects this city to like some of the other places in Noctivoria. You just can't see them right now because it's dark, of course. So since it's a cyberpunk setting, the water has been irradiated and polluted to the point where it's pretty much lethal if a human touches it. So in order to like simulate this, I basically made a boundary box that if the player collides with it, they will take a lethal amount of damage, ragdoll, and lose control of the player character to simulate like an instant death, basically. I followed this tutorial around. It was a very simple tutorial, not super complicated. I don't think it needs to go too far in depth. But let me go ahead and give you an example of what it looks like whenever the player jumps in and dies. Yep, that's pretty much it. You get a little message saying you died, and press P to restart, and it takes you back to the beginning of the level. Moving on to the main NPC, this is Nixara. This is the main NPC that the player will be interacting with throughout the story. I originally created her back in visualization of last semester. Here is going to be her original concept design. I wanted them to be a tall, lithe, alien vampire race, almost. So, because they grew up in caves, they have fangs, they have like long ears, they have large eyes so they can see better in the dark. They've got claws, they've got like little talons on their feet. And they like feed off the energy of the crystal, and they also drink blood, kind of like survive. And moving back to her model, it actually took me about a week just to model all the meshes combined. So I have her torso, I have different clothes, on her. I have her hair, I have her ears, I have her head. Unfortunately, I just didn't have enough time to rig her, animate her, do all the UV unwrapping, all the extra stuff. I really only had time just to make her mesh model so it could represent an NPC in the game and give like a good sense of scale of how tall these aliens are. In the future, when I have more time, I will definitely continue working on her. It's just due to time constraints. This is what I can make. I was following along with this tutorial here. I would say this is a good one. It's just like a low poly character modeling tutorial. He does a lot of good information. It's for Blender. I made it in Maya. A lot of them can cross over. But moving on to the final part of my contribution to the project is the dialogue system. All right, so this is going to be the dialogue system. I created it following along this tutorial, and then after I was done with the tutorial, I went ahead and expanded upon it and added my own features. But how it works is it's just a large array with multi-valued elements in the array. So you have the array ID if the player is speaking or if the NPC is speaking, whatever text appears in the dialog box, whatever children the next line will go to. So in this case, it's going to go down to the second and the third ones right here, which are going to be player choices that they can have. And then finally, it's going to be the triggers. So if a dialogue triggers an event, I can input it inside of the actual element itself. So if I want to change her expression to happy, or if I want to change her expression to sad, or if I just want to like start the game and like spawn the crystals and the hoverboard in. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I am able to easily make new elements, so I can make new lines of dialogue whenever I need to. It offers me a lot of flexibility, pretty much. I'm not going to get into much of the details behind the scenes, but as you kind of saw with the original video, you go up to a person, you interact with them, you start the dialogue, you push buttons on them, or on the dialogue boxes, and it kind of progresses the dialogue. And so an example like this is like how many choices and paths a player can take. So say if I don't like how she looks, which is very rude, I can say, Uno, you're weird. She gets a guest, she gets angry, and then she won't talk to you anymore or progress the story or start the game until you apologize to her. So you come back up to her, you interact with her again. She has a new starting dialogue now because she's angry. She asks if you want to apologize. You can say nope. You can say yep, I'm sorry. She says yes. Okay, she's being, very pompous. Says thank you, and it kind of leads back to the original four choices the player can make. So you can say sure. Her expression will change throughout the dialogue depending on like what she says or what you say. Keep going through, and after you get to like the end of the dialogue, you hit OK, and then the game will start. So the crystals will spawn in, and then the hoverboard will spawn in. You do all the crystal hunting and the actions, and then you come back to her. Whenever everything is complete, she'll register that all the crystals are collected, and you'll start the next tree of dialogue, or end the game in this case, because I don't have anything after that. So the last two elements of the game are going to be the hoverboard and the crystal scavenger hunt mechanic. So the crystal scavenger hunt mechanic acts like a way for the player to go around and explore the city, picking up objectives, and it's kind of like the win condition of the game. So once you have all 7 of the crystals in the level, you come back to Nexara and you get a reward. The hoverboard mechanic is designed so that way running around the city is a lot more fun, it's a lot more floaty. You can do some cool tricks with it, and you can also get some new crystals. But both of these systems were created or designed by my partner Joshua, whom I will now pass over to.
Hey guys, so I'm Joshua Samario, and I'll be giving you an overview of the hoverboard and the scavenger hunt blueprints. So actually shout out to this YouTuber, they're called Norway, and they really, they truly helped with this. And yeah, so the hoverboard is basically like built around the stabilization system, and this is basically you see those four hover points as I enter the hoverboard, there are those four hover points. So those four hover points are basically what keeps the hoverboard stable. and then the line in the middle is basically the one that calculates how far from the ground the board is. So all those lines are the sole reason why the board stays balanced throughout the game, and that's just how the stabilization system works. So other than that, I also have the movement system. So the movement system that I use for this basically includes the forward movement. The I applied the forward. There's also the backward force, the turn acceleration, the turn force, and just like the forward force. So the reason why I actually applied this is because it gave the board like a more realistic drifting feel, and the player is basically able to control the acceleration and the steering while the hover points maintain, the overall stability. So I also added a interaction message and just like a way for us to enter the hoverboard. So anytime I actually get close to the hoverboard, that interaction message pops up and it prompts us, to basically enter the hoverboard. And I use E as the keybind for this. So you see, as soon as I approach the board, that appears. And after pressing E, I'm able to mount the board and the player basically attaches to the board, and then normal, character movement is basically discontinued, and I can only regain that only if I dismount from the board. So that's basically the hoverboard for you, and that's all I have for the hoverboard right now, and I'll be getting into the scavenger hunt now. Okay, so now we have a simple scavenger hunt system and I placed 5 collectibles on the map. These items around the level, and each one basically like uses an overlap event to detect when the player touches it. So as soon as I touch this, it reads 1 out of 5. Then it disappears just after a few seconds. So when the player overlaps with the collectible, the blueprint adds these collected items to the collected items variable, and it plays a pickup sound and just like updates the UI, then removes the item from the board. So the UI is very like straightforward and basically shows how many items the player has collected so far. So as you can see, we had 3 out of 5 there, and it instantly updates, how many things we've collected. So once we collect every single thing on the map, we have 4 out of 5 now, and then 5 out of 5. Then we get a collected all gifts message there. And this is basically the system triggering like the completion event. So the message appears on the screen saying the scavenger hunt is basically complete. And this serves as like a win condition, for the game. So let me go into the blueprint. So in the blueprint, this is basically what this is basically what animates the way the crystals move. Then this is the logic behind the collected, crystals. So we collect them, then, it slowly disappears. After 3 seconds, it basically shrinks and then disappears. And then the text is like updated. Then this is the logic that updates like the number in terms of like the number of collectibles or the things that we've basically collected. So this calculates the collected presence, and then it's basically, sets the text or basically the number of collected items in this case, which is our crystals, and it's set hidden in the game. So after we collect it, it basically slowly disappears. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for the scavenger hunt.